Em, you can have one beverage besides for water and coffee while you eat food for the rest of your life. What are you drinking?
Miller High Life.
As our trash representative, I just want to say you live up to expectations.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Kirstie, if you could have one beverage besides water and coffee while you're eating, what would that beverage be?
I'm sober, and so I have to give the classic sober girl answer of Diet Coke.
Chemicals. Spectacular.
Yes.
We love them.
That is Kirstie Kimball, a celebrated food critic who runs a Substack called Beyond Beurre Blanc. And that's Em Cassel, a CityCast contributor and owner-editor of Racket. Today we're covering an amazing new list of the top restaurants in Minnesota. We're also going to find out if we're beyond capacity for holiday pop-ups. And we'll find out how we can help our neighbors in need, both during the holiday season and throughout the year. I do also want to call your attention to a new series that we just debuted on social media called I Live Here on Purpose. Our first video features Tecumseh T. Aiken, a renowned visual artist, the creator of the world's largest light bright display inside of Union Depot in St. Paul, and the unofficial mayor of Lowertown in St. Paul, though he is looking to retire. But let's check out this clip from Tecumseh. The piece is called Forever St. Paul. What was your favorite part of making it?
After working with it, it's 598,000 such pegs, Guinness Book World Record. I wasn't going for all of that. I was going for who came through and helped. So I had from homeless people to federal court judges, senators, teachers, a grandmother that would come up from Duluth so she could be with her grandkids and do this once a week. Looking at it makes me smile, knowing that on Martin Luther King's birthday, all the federal buildings were closed, and I told the homeless to come here. And then somebody decided they were going to bring food. I was just blown away. That kind of collaboration and sharing of things, not having to have to know that you're doing it, but just doing it. That kind of kindness, that kind of giving.
And now on with the show. I love a list, and I loved a rank list, and even more than that, I adore a ranked food list. These things are really hard to make. You need courage, you need dedication, but I think you also need confidence in your tastes and in your experiences and in making sure you really cover what you're planning on talking about. And judging by the work, our guest Kirstie Kimball has done that all in spades. Kimball has a Substack and an Instagram under the name Beyond Beurre Blanc, and she just dropped a top 50 restaurants in Minnesota list, and I am throwing a lot of underline around this, Minnesota. There's a whole bunch of lists that are like Twin Cities, Duluth, and then let's drive one weird place. And that's not the case in this list. And it's not even just a top 50 because behind the Substack paywall, there's 20 more restaurants. Kirstie Kimball, bienvenue à CityCast. Comment ça va?
I only passed French in college because my French teacher did not want to hear me speak French for another semester. So I'm not the person to answer that question in French.
Well, then let's break it down. Why'd you get all fancy with the name Beyond Beurre Blanc? Let's get the background for the non-francophones in the house.
Yes, so beurre blanc is a French butter sauce. It's considered, one of the mother sauces of cuisine. And I felt like I wanted to tell people with the title that I'm beyond French food. I'm beyond the mother sauces. We're going deep. We're looking at other types of cuisines. So many, I feel like, writers will give a mid-French restaurant a big pass because it's French. And I was like, that's not what we do here. We don't do that here.
All right. A little anti-French. I like this situation. Doing a little back of the envelope work, Kirstie, I think you may have been to 25% of the restaurants in our state, period. If you just ask Google how many restaurants are there in Minnesota, they think it's about 2,400. So this is wild. You went to 600 restaurants to cull this list. You went to them repeated times. You did a lot of research. And in our opinion, you had an incredible North Star for how to cover what restaurants you would try and then which restaurants ended up being featured. Before we get into some of your recommendations, can you talk about the experience of going to 600 restaurants and also focusing on making sure you really get a broad representation of restaurants that cater to different immigrant groups with relatively large populations in our state?
Yeah. So for me, going to 600 restaurants over 2 years, I'm going to be honest, it was brutal. It was brutal to just crisscross, the entire state. I went to, we have 87 counties. I went to 84 of those counties. And it was just me and my co-pilot, Mr. Rogers, my little dog in my car going everywhere. And it was really important to me both to cover any immigrant group that had over 5,000 immigrants in the state, not necessarily for inclusion. Like, for example, I didn't find a Canadian restaurant that I wanted to, add to the list, but to make sure that I ate broadly across that cuisine. And then also regions. So I didn't find a restaurant in Brainerd, Niçoise, Pequot Lakes, but I'll be back next year to try more of them. But really trying to go to where are all of the, places that have their unique food cultures, and making sure I got out to a lot of those rural restaurants. I wasn't just going to the places that a lot of the presses cover. Like you're talking about Duluth, Grand Marais, right? What does it mean to sort of get out of that space and be like, what are the special restaurants that aren't in those main cabin towns that deserve, they deserve you to drive out to them?
You went to a town that ends in a Z, Piers. I've never even heard of Piers.
Yes.
Kirstie, your code of ethics establishes these really great, boilerplate journalistic practices that I think a lot of other food writers in our area maybe don't follow. You have very specific things that I think you outline that I don't see a lot of other people talk about. Like, you are very principled about being oriented towards readers and towards workers and towards not giving a lot of attention towards some of the maybe bad actors in the local food community. So can you talk a little bit about this code of ethics? I'm a huge fan of it. I love that you put it front and center in your work. And I would love for you to talk a little bit more about why that is so important to you.
Yeah, it is really important to me. I think, first of all, talking about workers. Workers are the restaurant. I think we're in this moment where the celebrity chef has sort of come back. Even if they're not like a celebrity, they're a local celebrity in some ways. And it's important for just readers to know that person is often not the one running the day-to-day operations of their restaurant. Sometimes yes, but oftentimes no. And if that person doesn't treat their workers right, who are running the restaurant day in and day out, as a writer, I'm going to choose a better business owner. It's also my politics. We're a union town in the Twin Cities, and being in support of workers to me is really important because of our local politics. Workers are my sources, where for most of our big presses, their sources are the chef owners. My sources are workers. And if I hear that it's not the best place to work, I'm just going to go cover somewhere else. And then other things too, it's if somebody has actual domestic violence charges and convictions against them, why are we uplifting that person? It says a lot to women in the industry and women in general when we're uplifting those types of bad actors. So it's important for me to be like, are you a good person at the end of the day? And then send people to the restaurants of people that I think are doing it right. We have so many restaurants, 2,400 of them, which I just learned today. If there's 20 of them that we don't need to go to, that's fine,
Let's get started sort of hunting and pecking around this list. I've been to 17 of the restaurants that are in the 70 that are in that list. So I've been to 19th of the restaurants in Minnesota or something like that. But let's get started with onion rings. You're talking about this spot that hand breads their own onion rings. Can you tell me about some of your favorite sort of fried basket type food that you enjoyed, Kirstie?
Oh, yeah. So I think Sue's Drive-In, so it's out in Piers, they have this amazing house-made onion rings. And it was just teenagers working. And they knew where everything came from. I might ask at some of these new trendy PR-driven restaurants, where's your beef from? And they're like, I don't know. And these people knew the name of the guy. And they were like, oh, he's going to come here later today, who supplied their beef, which is so cool. So that was really fun. We all know that the best cheese curds in the state, you can only get at the state fair at, Mouthtrack, right? But it is a really, really big treat to go to the Nook and get their hot Cheeto cheese curds. Delish, right? That's one of my favorite fried foods in the state. And then, it's in my top 10. Number 4, the Fisherman's Daughter, I think defines the fish and chips of the North Country. It's a very specific type of fish and chips with beer battered fries. And that's one of my favorite fried treats in the state. It's my first stop when I go up to Grand Marais, and they're open year round. So you can actually go up there during the off season or the shoulder season and enjoy fish and chips all day, every day, or once if you can't handle as much fried food as I can.
Okay, best cabin eats. If I'm interested in planning a trip around something I want to eat.
Yeah. So for me, if I was going to pick a place for you to get cabin eats, I would try to get a cabin around Grand Rapids, Minnesota. There are 2 restaurants in my top 50 that are both very different that are on the list. One is The Pines. It's a new farm-to-table restaurant up in Grand Rapids, and it is super special, really warm, really sweet, and delish. I had turnips there that I dreamed about, and I've never dreamed about a turnip in my life. And then there's Pasties Plus. I've eaten every major pasty in the UP. This one rivals some of the best. It was incredible, and I never have liked a vegetarian pasty in my life, but I loved their vegetarian pasty. And you could get them like to go, not heated up, and then have them for breakfast at your cabin. So that would be like my cabin trip, a little unconventional, not in one of the main spots, but you're gonna get some really, really good food up there.
Love it.
Kirstie, I don't think I will ever dream about turnips. I'm being honest with you, but I stay up
More
nights
like
thinking
turned down.
I stay up nights thinking about burgers. So can you tell me about some of your favorite burgers you dug into?
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you a few that aren't my favorite because I'm releasing my favorite burger behind a paywall next week. Ooh. So if you're interested in knowing my favorite burger, you can go and you can get a subscription to Beyond Beurre Blanc, and it'll be up, I think it's the 21st that it's coming up. But for dive burgers, I love King's Place. King's Place is amazing. It's just south of the Twin Cities. You could go like antiquing right around the area and then go get a burger. They're grinding their burgers in-house all day long. They have over 100 weird burgers on the menu, but I'm just a standard burger girl. But if you look at the menu, it'll be like grape jelly, jalapenos, weird cheese all together, and somehow it works. And then I love the Nook. I think the Nook is the best juicy. I'm not a juicy fan. I don't need like molten cheese as hot as the core of the earth in my burger. But if that's what you want, that is my place to go and get like a good dive burger. So those are my like second and my third. And if you want my first, it'll be up on Beyond Beurre Blanc next week, Sean.
Em, have you been to King's Place in Meesville?
I have not. No, I'm going to have to add it to the list. I know.
Don't go until we all go tubing. I go tubing every year down there at Welch Village. And then as you're driving back, you get that. And, okay, I have a couple quick burger hot takes. Burgers of the month are the dumbest thing in the world. Whenever they're like, oh, here's a Thanksgiving burger, strike one. Like, just give me your annual burgers and that's all
Regular burger, please.
Yes.
And when a place has, like, we have 100 burgers, I'm like, that's at least 90 too many. But they actually do make a good, proper burger. So that's great.
I'm a big salad orderer. Do you have favorite salads?
I do. So where I go to get a salad is Tilia. I will go to Tilia and I will get a salad and I will get a big bowl of whatever soup they have. Right now they have their butternut squash soup, which is the best soup in the cities, in my opinion. I actually took a guy there on a first date in 2023, and now almost every time I go, I see him there just eating the soup in the winter. Like, it didn't work out for us, but he met his wife over at Tilia. And so that's my favorite place to go and get a salad by far. And then the other place I really like to go for a salad is Ariana, which I think is not something that people would expect. It comes on the side if you get the kebabs, which you should get the kebabs. And it is like the juiciest dressing and just really, really yummy. And you can ask for it spicy, and it's actually spicy. And so if you're looking for like a salad on the side, Ariana has my favorite side salad with their kebabs. And you have to make sure you get the Afghani eggplant when you go there too.
Amazing.
In a lot of these lists, there's a preference, Kirstie, towards new restaurants, but you pull out some restaurants that have been around since the 1960s. You pull out a lot of restaurants that are like 20 plus years old. Why was that important as you were doing this particular write-up?
Yeah, so I think I started this list because our best restaurant lists in the Twin Cities are normally best new restaurants. And so for me, I think it kills restaurants if we always go to the new restaurant. So let's say you are a person who goes out to eat at the new hotspot once a month, and then you never go back. I just want you to know that everybody else is doing that too. And some of our best restaurants are empty 2 years after they open because people are following what I call the hype cycle. For me, it was really important to look at what has staying power, what has been consistent for 10 plus years, like what has really, really been putting in the work, and they are like day in and day out really doing the grind, as opposed to what is hip and what is trendy. So there's only two new restaurants that opened in 2025 on my list, and the vast majority of restaurants are, 20 years old. And those are the restaurants that we really should be supporting because they've been a part of our community for that long, churning out really, really, really good food outside of the hype cycle.
Kirstie, what do you do when you have to eat somewhere on your schedule and you are like don't want to eat, or you don't want to eat that food, but that's the stuff you have to do that night? Like, how do you when you have to be a pro, how do you handle it?
Oh, it's like, that's such a good question, Sean, because I actually had this last week where it's like, I have to go eat a steak and I know it's a bad steak. I was like, I just know that I have to do that. And my answer is I bring a friend. We laugh at the bad food that we're eating. If you read my Hey Y'all review, I did not want to go to Hey Y'all. And I went with friends and we laughed at the fact that our cups were covered in gunk, and we had a really, really good time. And so I try to bring people into it. And I think so much of it for me is asking the question, not what am I craving, but is this a good version of the food that I am eating, and having to be as neutral as possible. I often have rubrics. I take really detailed notes. Even if it's a restaurant I love that I'm just like not in the mood for and I'd rather like be at home with tomato soup and grilled cheese, Sometimes you just have to do it. And I think the more notes you take, the better you are at being able to be neutral and seeing the food as like, this is a good version of this thing.
Kirstie, me and Em will fall on the sword and join you next time you go to King's in Meadsville. We will do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm in.
Yep.
We want to hear from you. What restaurants would be in your top 50? Let us know by leaving us a voicemail or sending us a text on the CityCast Twin Cities hotline. That number is 612-217-0637. You might hear your comments in one of our mailbag segments. Later on today, you'll hear how we can help our neighbors dealing with food insecurity. Right now, we're going to take a quick break. Em Cassel, you are a hot take machine, but this one is beyond reproach. Today, it is the 5th night of Hanukkah and 1 week away from Christmas Day, and you are just bringing the bah humbug energy. There are so many bubbles that we're actually worried about bursting. Breweries, AI, etc. But here you are just voluntarily dumping on holiday pop-ups. Go for it, Em.
Sometimes I just want to say something controversial and see what happens and like see if I can defend it. And actually, but I do truly believe this. Like, we have hit peak holiday bar. We don't need any more holiday bars. I'm sick of seeing them. I'm sick of like people asking me if I want to go to them with them. I'm sick of like reading the lists of like 20 plus holiday bars that there are and how they're all slightly different, even though they all just have like tinsel everywhere and like the same 3 versions of cocktails that are vaguely wintry. And I'm over it. I'm over the whole thing. I don't need any more. I'm done. I'm out of it. I know that the average person probably likes these things. Like, a lot of the holiday pop-ups that there are, like, they're like, get a reservation. Like, we're full. You can't come in. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't want to come in. Stay full.
Kirstie, where do you land on holiday pop-up bars?
So I agree with Em, but I'm also sober, so I'm biased. And the NA cocktails at these pop-ups are terrible. I've never been to like an NA a pop-up where I'm like, that NA cocktail was even okay. They're like, oops, all juice is what I call them.
And
it's
you're
like,
probably paying like Christmas themed prices. Like, it's like, what if NA juice and it's $15?
It's $15. Yeah.
And we put reindeer antlers on it.
Right. And then you get your selfie, right? The thing that I'll say though, and this is not speaking to you, but other people who are haters about this, is we wouldn't need the holiday pop-ups if people went to restaurants in December, January, February, March. There's a lull in the winter for us, especially after New Year's. And I know that these holiday pop-ups keep the restaurant open for you and me, when we want to go. I want to go to Ola Arepa right now. Actually, I really want the nachos, but I'm like, I'm going to go like January 3rd, I'm like, I don't want to go.
After the pop-up.
Yes, but it's going to keep that restaurant open through the winter for you and me to enjoy it on the patio in the summer. So I think of them as like no-fly zones for me. Everybody else can go and have their fun. And then I'll be there in March when everybody else is staying at home.
I understand where you're coming from to an extent. I do feel like it's weird when you walk into a bar and it is absolutely not festive. I'm not talking about where they go, we've turned this into the Gremlins, we've turned this into something. But when I walk into a restaurant that looks exactly the same on December 18th as it does on July 15th, I kind of go, who's the manager? Shouldn't somebody have gone and bought some tinsel? Like even at my local coffee shop, JS, like they got a Christmas tree and a menorah. So what I want to ask is, do you agree that like the absolute absence of any festivity is also a problem?
It's not a problem for me. Well, here's like two things I'll say about this.
Is that because you're dead inside though, Em? Like, or is this...
Yeah, I have no soul.
Okay.
I do go to a lot of dive bars, which have Christmas lights up year round. So that's like one thing where I'm like, yeah, there's always some kind of twinkling holiday light because they just leave them across the ceiling. Second thing, no, I don't care. Like, maybe I really am just this much of a Scrooge, like that I am just like, no, I don't care. But I really don't care. I'm glad that it brings everyone else so much joy. I don't need it. I'm fine.
I think for me, Sean, I like when the restaurant just looks the same because I know the influencers won't be there. And so I think for me, when I go into a restaurant that's really cute and like decked out for the holidays, I'm like, I'm going to have it's like a strobe warning, right? It's like flash photography here, flash photography there. You'll hear someone, say, come with me to the holiday bar. And I'm just like, when I go in and there's no festive anything, I'm like, you trust your food to be good enough. And also, I'm going to get to be here just like with the normal people for a month. So for me, it's like a plus.
I do feel like you are a particular population of people who go to restaurants professionally, really passionately, and with a lot of care for what's in there. And the only thing I feel that I haven't added yet is that sometimes, especially folks who don't get out that often, they need a special invitation to convince the family, the friend group. Listen, I want to go drinking every night. I got these kids, I got this job, I got these things that get in the way. But I loved my 20s, right? Like I loved going out all the time. I needed no special invitation. But for folks who are going, we're probably going to go blow $75 on drinks 3 times a year. This is sometimes that invitation to do it. And maybe it's not the ideal one, but I think Kirstie recognizes the business value of it, and I recognize the value of going, if this is what gets you out of the door and gets you to enjoy this spot, maybe it's a bummer that you're enjoying this place that is usually pretty good, and today is like a peppermint schnapps for $19. But on the other hand, it does get people out the door and together and off of Instagram. And for that, I am thankful. Now, I know they just take pictures and put it back on Instagram, but at least people are...
It's a cycle.
At least people are getting out and doing something. But Em, I'll save all my dive bar activity for you, and I'll go to my holiday pop-ups all on my lonesome.
I'll allow it, Sean.
We do want to hear from you. What do you think of holiday pop-ups? Send us a text or leave us a voicemail on the CityCast Twin Cities hotline, 612-217-0637. Those comments could show up in a later mailbag segment. Up next, we'll be talking with Anne Laskey from Second Harvest Heartland about how to support our neighbors who are dealing with food insecurity during this time of the year. Before that, we're going to take a quick break. I spend my Thursday mornings lifting weights over at the YMCA in Midway, and whenever I'm taking a little break, I look out of the window, and I frequently see people waiting outside of Keystone Community Food Center. They're waiting to get food for their family and for themselves. And I also almost always see a truck from Second Harvest Heartland unloading pallets in the back while I'm there. I assume they are unloading food that's ultimately going to be part of the food that folks get from Keystone Community. And like a lot of folks, I wonder, how can I help? And I sort of pat myself lightly on the back and I say, I've packaged some food with Second Harvest Heartland. I've sent some money over to Keystone. My wife even volunteered over there. But I do know that taking that step from just looking out and going, there's hungry people in my community, and taking that step to actually helping can be really daunting. It's a lot to figure out, and a lot of times you just aren't ready to take that next step. And today what we're trying to do is make that easier. We're talking with Anne Laskey, who's the Cause Marketing and Events Manager at Second Harvest Heartland. Anne, thank you for the work you do, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Sean, for having me and for that nice intro highlighting Keystone and our work. So excited to be here with you.
Well, can you talk for a moment to the dude between reps over at the YMCA who's looking out of the window going, okay, Second Harvest Heartland, Keystone, how can I help? What's the most efficient way for said person to take that next step?
The need really has never been greater. So I think of ways to support really in 3 buckets. The first being through making a donation, whether that is to your local food shelf or to a food bank like Second Harvest Heartland. At the food bank level, we can turn $1 into 3 meals. If a donation is not feasible for you, there's other ways to get involved. The second, I would say, is volunteering. Again, at your local food shelf or at Second Harvest Heartland, we welcome volunteers 6 days a week at our facility in Brooklyn Park. We see a really high surge in volunteer support during the holidays, but I think it's important to note that that need carries on through the new year. And we would love for people to come pack food with us. We usually are packing down 2,000-pound totes of produce, whether it's apples, onions, potatoes, and we're packing them into smaller quantities for our food shelf partners to receive and distribute to families in need. And then kind of a fun one is we curated a Second Harvest Heartland gift guide this year. So that's businesses, individuals who are putting together campaigns that make your shopping with them, partnering with them very easy to give back. In the local Twin Cities community, obviously a lot of Timberwolves fans, ourselves included. Head coach Chris Finch is on our board and he's heavily engaged in the hunger relief work. We've partnered with Head Flyer Brewing. They brewed their kind of flagship citrus wheat ale called Crunch Time, a play on Crunch, obviously the Timberwolves mascot. So for every pour of Crunch Time during the Timberwolves season, during the games, we'll support Second Harvest Heartland.
I did not know that Chris Finch was involved, and
Yeah.
that's really sweet. And I know that you guys have a really big operation. So I actually want to back up on one thing language-wise. Am I right in understanding Food Bank, a larger organization that is often actually getting food to food shelves? Is that kind of the way it works? So Second Harvest Heartland is not a food shelf, it's a food bank. You guys then get it out to places like Keystone and other spots all around, not only Minnesota, but you guys have a larger footprint than that, right?
We do, yes. Second Harvest Heartland, we're the second largest food bank in the country. We're part of the Feeding America network of food banks that's serving every county across the U.S. There's about 200 Feeding America network food banks. But it's exactly like you said, we kind of think of ourselves as a food bank. We're essentially a distribution center. So the food that comes in our warehouse is in bulk quantities from manufacturers, retailers, farmers, and we're taking in bulk quantity, 1,000-pound totes of food, breaking it down into smaller, more feasible quantities and distributing that out to our food shelf partners. Our service area at Second Harvest is a 59 county service area. So that's kind of south central Minnesota and actually a good portion of western Wisconsin as well.
And now, Anne, I want to point out that hunger is really a problem. I think that might not be in question for a large percentage of folks, but I think it's worth sharing some of the statistics that are on the front page of your website at Second Harvest Heartland. 1 in 5 households in Minnesota experienced food insecurity in 2025. 26% of households with children didn't have regular access to the nutrition needed to thrive. And 40% of households of color experienced food insecurity. That's compared to 16% of white households. So I think it's inarguable that there's a problem to be solved. And I just want to get an understanding of when somebody parts with some of their hard-earned dollars and they realize that sending it to Second Harvest Heartland is going to supply a lot more calories and nutrition than maybe just picking up something at Cub is going to do. How do they know that when they're getting money to Second Harvest Heartland, that money is putting food into people's houses and mouths?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we take a lot of pride in the way that we can turn a dollar into meals. Our team has been a trusted partner in the community for so many years, and I think that's also credit to our amazing network of food shelf partners that are able to take that food and distribute it so efficiently right to our neighbors in need. When we look at household budgets, especially during the holiday season, if you're faced with, a high heating bill or, a flat tire, something unexpected arises, we've seen with our neighbors that the grocery budget is often the first to go. It's the first one to be compromised, which is a heartbreaking choice that people have to make. And that's our goal. That's the goal of our entire Hunger Relief Network. We're so collaborative in making sure that is not a choice that people have to make.
How many people do you need to become one of those packing groups, or how do folks get involved if they actually want to come to your spot and package some of this food?
We make it as easy as we can. The first place to start is visiting our website, toharvest.org/volunteer. You'll see a volunteer calendar with all shift availability, and it's very easy to sign up. I would say we'd welcome anybody. You yourself, Sean, if you tomorrow say, I have free time in my schedule, and you look at our calendar and you see an open spot in one of our shifts, you can register that moment and come to our Brooklyn Park facility and be welcome to be part of the shift. And if you plan ahead, we take groups up to 70 to 80 per shift. So it can be a whole team effort. We have amazing corporate partners that host days of giving with us. So they're kind of taking over our volunteer center for the day. I know the holiday season is very busy, but our minimum volunteer age is worth mentioning. It's age 8 and older. So it's also a great family opportunity. If you're looking to, get your kids involved in, school groups, we see a lot of school and church groups come through our volunteer center, and so grateful for the variety of ways that people come in and support us through volunteerism.
Anne Laskey, we're nearing the end of this conversation, and you've been doing spectacular work at Second Harvest Heartland, and they've been doing great work for eons here in the Twin Cities. As somebody who's in this work every day, is this something we can solve? Is there a world where 25 years from now, we don't need you to exist? Everybody's full?
We talk about that so often at Second Harvest Heartland. And yes, I do feel confident that it is a solvable issue. I think it takes tremendous collaboration as a community. We know that emergency food support, stopping by your local food shelf is not the way that we're going to solve hunger. I think it's a collaboration at the advocacy level as well. We have a team dedicated to policy change and other levers we can pull that'll make hunger a non-issue. I also think that oftentimes individuals who are experiencing hunger, whether it's short-term or long-term, there's often other challenges that they're facing, such as housing, transportation. So as a team, we're working so hard to collaborate with other partners, nonprofits in the community for that holistic support so that we can provide not just food for today, we can provide support for tomorrow and then stability long-term. So our team is truly dedicated, and I love being part of the larger hunger relief network in our community that's so generous and quite honestly very resilient. It's been a wild ride.
Anne Laskey is the cause marketing and events manager at Second Harvest Heartland, doing spectacular work and doing work that's really important. And to anybody who's been, looking outside and seeing something like Keystone across from wherever they are and thinking, I wish I could help, but I just don't know how. It's easier than you think, and we really appreciate the work of Second Harvest Heartland for making it easier to help out with this very serious problem. Anne Laskey, thank you for your time today, and thanks for the work you do every day for Second Harvest Heartland.
Thank you so much, Sean. So great to talk to you. I appreciate it.
Now I'm joined by producer Adam Sage for a chat about one of our sponsors. What are we talking about today, Adam?
Hey, Sean. Yeah, we're talking about the Great Northern Winter Festival. So mark your calendars. It's a 5-day winter celebration across the Twin Cities starting on January 28th. The festival aims to unite our community through art, climate engagement, and outdoor experiences, celebrating the things that make our region special. Their signature event that you might be familiar with is the Sauna Village, with more than 20 mobile saunas set up. But new this year, the festival is transforming the riverfront area at St. Anthony, Maine, with live music stages, chef demos, public art, a winter playground, vendor markets, and climate conversations. And I wanted to shout out, I checked out the lineup, and there's several artists on there, but some that I'm really excited to see this year. Porchlight, Omar Abdul Karim, and Obi Original and the Black Atlantics are playing. And I think all of those are going to be exceptional performances. So the Great Northern Festival is something that I genuinely endorse and go to without a sponsor. But why are we talking about this, Sean?
Well, XL Energy, they sponsored the Great Northern. And so attendees are going to be able to find company representatives at some of these events sharing energy-saving tips and fun giveaways. Also really cool, they're not just going to be behind like a little table. They have a tiny house on site, and it's an interactive way for people to learn about saving energy at home and potentially lowering their energy bills.
We love lower energy bills. What else are they doing at the festival?
On January 31st, XL Energy is actually going to have a panel discussion on Midwest decarbonization, and that's at the Maine Cinema right by St. Anthony, Maine. And you should know that 2/3 of the electricity used by XL Energy customers across the upper Midwest is already carbon-free.
Love to hear it. Listener, if you want to check out any of these festival events, we got a deal for you. Visit thegreatnorthernfestival.com to check out different events and activities available. And now through January 15th, if you enter the code CityCast20, you can get 20% off all festival passes. That is all caps, CityCast number 20.
That's all for today here on CityCast Twin Cities. I'm your host, Sean McPherson, Kirstie Kimball, Em Cassel, Anne Laskey, Adam Sage. Thanks for being here today. You can get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to the CityCast Twin Cities newsletter. If you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with a sauna enthusiast? We'll see you back here tomorrow for more news from around the city.